Seconds. Okay, we're live. Cool. Hey everyone. Welcome to the second Zcash show and tell event. This series is about highlighting some of the cool projects using Zcash, and this presentation comes from Why Are You Sleeping, who built zmsg, which is a program using the Zcash encrypted memo field for sending messages. Feel free to post questions in the chat box on the side of the live stream. Or I think you could probably follow up with Why Are You Sleeping in the Zcash community chat. So, and I'll link that in the description. So I guess we can just start with the presentation. Thanks for joining.
Cool. Hi, I'm Why Are You Sleeping? And yeah, show about this zmsg thing I made. The idea is actually like early on talking with Zuko, he kind of mentioned that one of his biggest things that he thought was going to be really cool about Zcash was that the memo field would be like a really important feature, and a lot of people would use it for other things. And just he kind of like hinted at the potential of just using it for arbitrary messaging, and I was like, oh, that's a really cool idea. So I sat down and made some it's really just kind of a script around the Zcash CLI. It's written in Go so that it, because that's just what I do. And it allows you to send a Z encrypted shielded transaction to somebody with text that you send in the memo field. So let me do a screen share. And so it's on GitHub. So on Why Are You Sleeping /zmsg. There's installation guide, some basic usage. And so let's take a look at how it looks. So in order to use it, you have to run a Zcash daemon, which that should make sense. And the basic usage of the tool, it's got a nice little command line interface. I hope that's big enough text for presentation. You've got a command line interface, and you can run check is the command to check your inbox. And so we run it, and we see that I have two different messages. So somebody saying, hello, nice to meet you, and another person apparently sending me their private keys. No, the thing is, you can't actually see who they're from unless they explicitly say who the message is from. And that's just because you don't actually get that information in a transaction. One thing I'm looking at doing is trying to figure out a standard format for putting the from address in the memo field. That'll be kind of neat, just to kind of opt into providing that information. Then it also provides which of your addresses it was sent to, what was the value of the transaction, and so on. So now to send one, I'll go to my other computer that's somewhere else. You do zmsg, let me bump that up, send message, and then you specify a to address, and I'm just going to autocomplete that. So you specify the to because that's a really long thing, and then it will automatically pick one of your addresses. You can specify a from address, and it'll use that one. Otherwise, it'll just use whichever of your addresses it has, and you specify a message. Something like this is a live memo of zmsg, and then hit that to send it. And now it will sit and it'll wait for the shielded transaction to be created. And this is lots of snark magic, I've been led to believe. So this takes 40 seconds or however long, but I give a little bit of feedback just to make sure people aren't, knowing it's hanging, oh no. And so we just have to sit around and twiddle our thumbs while this works. But I actually forgotten how long this takes. There we go, sent successfully. So it gives you the transaction ID. And what that was doing is it's essentially called send many, and then got the operation ID back from that, and then polled, waiting for the operation ID to report success. So now that I have that transaction, I can go back here, and if I run zmsg check, you won't see it because by default, it only shows you messages that have some confirmations. But there's a no conf option that should show, yeah, here we go. So it shows up here because we're asking it to show us transactions that haven't been confirmed yet, but they actually are out there in the mempool. Another weird thing is that the ordering isn't quite right. I haven't figured out how. This just goes in the order that's returned from the list received by addresses API. And so you can use this to go back and forth. And yeah, so that's the basic of it. It doesn't do much beyond that because it's really pretty simple, but it's kind of fun. And on one of my other addresses, which is on a computer that's in a storage unit right now, unfortunately, I've got a bunch of other messages from people because that's the address that I linked on my GitHub. So if people have like used the tool, it's kind of like really inspiring to see like, oh yeah, somebody actually used this and they sent me a message. This is cool. But yeah, future things I want to add are an address book. So you can have like a little file that maps somebody else's hash to a short name. So you can say to page, and that would substitute her zadder in there. And then also would like to add an option to automatically embed the from address so that you can, following some standardized format, tell the recipient who actually sent the message, as opposed to just saying, hey, this is me. Yeah, and so that's zmsg. It's really simple. And I hope people have like cool, exciting ideas to play around with this.
Cool. Have you heard any ideas from other people yet?
I think I've heard a couple different ideas to use it. It's actually a great way to securely share like keys. So like if you need a perfectly secure way of starting up an encrypted session between two people that even has reader privacy, because the cool thing about zmsg is that it does have reader privacy, which means that it is just about impossible to tell who received, like who a message was to. So like nobody in the network can know. People might be able to see that I'm sending a message, but nobody will be able to tell who that message was actually for. So that's like an aspect of security called reader privacy, which is really hard to do. And it's really cool that Zcash allows us to do that, right? So you could use zmsg to share a key that would allow you to start like a different thing, like the key to an XOR key stream, so you can have a secure communication channel with somebody else. So it kind of like is one way to do a very secure initial key exchange for some communication.
Nice. You mentioned like standardizing some of the messages. Have you seen the zip draft?
Yeah, I've looked at the zip draft, and I'm excited about getting that more figured out and kind of having some maybe some tooling around it, like some official tooling to say like, oh, this is different types of messages and different like fields that are expected under certain types, so that maybe the Zcash client itself could eventually do a lot of what zmsg does. So that'd be kind of like a built-in feature. And then maybe even other wallets could start implementing this functionality. Because like the program I wrote itself is nothing special. It's just the idea of being able to send really private messages this way that I really like. And so if Jax and the default Zcash client wallet started implementing stuff like this, I think there'd be a lot more use cases and people using this for really secure messaging.
Yeah. I'm excited for that standardization to get fleshed out as well.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the actually, if you don't mind going back to the screen share for a sec, the the amount that gets sent, it seemed like it was like 4 zeros and then a 1 ZEC. Is that accurate for all of them?
Yeah, so there's an option. So when you're sending, I've got a few options here. So you can specify the from, and all the from does is select which address to use. The to is required, and then the tx val specifies the payment, the fee, or not. It doesn't specify the fee. It just specifies the amount to actually send along with it. And this is just because, I don't know, I don't think you actually have to send a value as long as you pay a transaction fee, which I think I need to rework some of the code to just send a transaction fee and not a value. But it's kind of cool to be able to send like money along with your message.
Yeah, that can be very useful. Does it use, it just uses a standard transaction fee then, I assume?
Yeah, it uses standard transaction fee. And yeah, you can send any amount with that. I just made it really small so that it's kind of fun to play with. And when I was first starting this, I barely had any Zcash, so that was like a lot. That was like a significant portion of my Zcash holdings. So playing around with this was like, oh, I sent somebody a little bit of Zcash, and now they have half my Zcash now. So
cool.
Yeah.
Is the I'm reading a question that I'm not quite sure. It's from Nathan on the chat. Maybe he can clarify it a little bit, but maybe you understand it better if I just read it. Are the messages just packed directly into the memo field, or is there some memo encoding?
Yeah, so there is, I'm using one of the, let's see if I can go to the code. It's using one of the, from the zip, there's a certain code that if I go to send message here, yeah, so it's using the hex encoded string for the message. How am I doing this? I do use the zip where you prefix it with like a byte that's OXF5, I think, or something along those lines. So yeah, it uses the zip specification for that. Trying to figure out where I actually do that embedding. I don't know.
Yeah, in that question, he linked to, I think it's a ticket 1849. Maybe that's the encoding that you're referring to.
Could be, yeah.
I'll add that link into the description because I don't know what that is too exactly.
Oh yeah, that is. Yes. Yeah. So on this.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, in here I've commented on this issue. Yeah.
Sweet. Okay. Actually, I have another question. The ordering of the messages, is it just based on like the time they were sent? There's no ordering of like separating to and from?
Yeah, there's none of that yet.
Okay.
There's obviously
like
a lot
inbox,
to do.
outbox type thing.
Yeah, there should be more of that. And we could do things like we could have an outbox where you like note which messages you've sent, but right now it doesn't note which messages you've sent out. That might be neat. And right now the ordering is entirely dependent on the output of list received by address. So we basically just iterate all your addresses, call list received by address, make sure that the format matches, and then go with that.
Cool. Looking for other questions. A lot of people are actually just talking about it, which is really cool in the chat. Let's see. Well, another question I would have is, are you looking for people to help collaborate, or are you do you have like a lot of ideas that you're trying to implement first, or?
Yeah, if people want to, I'd love that people use the tool, give me feedback, and then there's a couple different things that would be cool to implement that I just right now don't have a lot of time to go and do that, like the address book thing or the from address, putting the from address in the actual memo. So doing those different things would be nice, but it's not anything that I've done yet.
Yeah, it would be cool to see other people help with this because it seems really, really easy to use. So actually, when I almost attempted to try it when I was helping Jay with this scavenger hunt thing that she was doing for an event. So you need to have Go installed when you?
Yeah, to build it requires Go. I've been thinking about providing some precompiled binaries. It's just,
Mhm.
Whenever you do that, you always have to be worried about the security. You have to be like, oh, are people going to trust this random binary that I'm providing them? It could just be a virus that steals all their Zeke and sends it to me, so you don't, you got to be very careful when providing binaries to people. And so I just haven't wanted to worry about that yet, and doing that in a secure way.
Cool.
So
Well, maybe that's where other people could help as well.
Yeah,
making that
definitely.
process. Because that would be very useful for being able to just install and use it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, getting people into the what am I trying to say? Getting it into like Linux package managers would be really nice, or maybe like make a brew install thing for it on Mac, so that people can just install it that way. That'd be really handy. So I think there are definitely people out there that know how to do that aren't me, and that would be much appreciated.
Totally. All right. Yeah, there's just people throwing out a bunch of ideas. I should copy this transcript and make sure it gets saved.
Yeah, where's that transcript at? Is that on the?
It's just like next to the live stream itself.
Oh.
It's just the live chat that's happening. So I'll hopefully it doesn't disappear when this ends, but I'll try my best to copy it over.
And if you want another quick little demo, there's another separate thing I've been working on that I could show like real quick.
Sure. Is it Zcash related?
It is definitely Zcash related.
Sweet. Go for it.
So I also, the other thing I work on that's not Zcash is IPFS. And so I've been working on ingesting different blockchain stuff into IPFS and being able to like work on it natively. And so to that end, I've written a simple Zcash block explorer. So all of the hashes you see here are IPFS hashes, but they are actually represent Zcash blocks. So if I take this hash and convert this from, I think if I do, yeah, so this is a Zcash block, and it's that block. So I need to do a little more UX, but what this does is I can click and I can traverse through the Zcash blockchain entirely on IPFS. So if you look at the URL bar here, this is just an IPFS node. And so like all these, I can go through and view transaction, Merkle tree, and look, here's a transaction. And so this is pulling, so I've imported data from the Zcash daemon to the IPFS daemon. And so this is actually not pulling from the Zcash network at all. It's just using the hash trees. And so we can like go through and look at all these things. And yeah, it's a completely decentralized block explorer, but it doesn't work super well yet. So I just kind of wanted to show a little bit and have that be that.
That's really cool as well. We need more implementations of the explorers, and having a decentralized one is pretty sweet.
Yeah, like once I get this done and implemented, anybody could run it, and you could view the exact same data from anybody's server, and it would look exactly the same. So, and it wouldn't matter who's hosting the data because it's all verifiable and authenticated by hash links.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's that was that.
Cool. Are you looking for collaborators on that as well? Maybe there's people that are into IPFS or.
Yeah, if anybody's like interested in this, my JavaScript skills are very weak, and I didn't even write that. I had asked somebody else to hack it together real quick for me. So like people who want to make a prettier block explorer and no JavaScripts, that would be like super helpful, and I'd love to collaborate on that.
Awesome.
Also,
Go ahead.
No, that's go
on. You're just getting a lot of praise in the chat for this as well.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm really excited about this stuff.
Sweet. Yeah, thank you so much for building these awesome tools. Hopefully it's a fun time. It's definitely fun to see the various projects people are working on.
yeah, it's a really exciting new space and all this decentralized tech that, it's really fun.
Cool. Well, unless someone throws in a question in the next few seconds, I might end it because I mean, Nathan asked if you had any brainstorms about other applications for the memo field. We kind of covered that already, but I don't know if you have any further ones that you had thought about.
The only other one is to use the memo field for like payment processing stuff. So you
Okay.
could use the memo field to like accept payments and like have people put some transaction ID in that memo field. Because with Bitcoin, this is really hard to do right now because the only way to add extra information to a transaction is to throw stuff into an op return, and people don't like op returns. So the memo field is kind of like a natural op return replacement, and it would allow some really cool things there if we standardize that.
Cool. Yeah, and even like a return address or something for certain kinds of
Definitely.
transactions.
Yeah, I was talking with Nathan about this earlier, so definitely something I want to figure out.
Cool. Cool. Well, thank you so much for doing this. And
yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me.
of course, thanks everyone for watching. We'll do this again soon. All right, I'm going to stop the broadcast now.